The black bear is the only bear still found in Arizona, and they are characterized as shy, secretive animals possessing considerable curiosity and displaying high levels of intelligence and exploratory behavior. Unfortunately, their natural behavior, combined with some bad behavior by humans, is causing big problems in the towns of the White Mountains.
Well, we've just set what we call a culvert trap or a bear trap for a nuisance bear. We've been getting a number of calls from residents in this area about a bear that's been coming in every night. He's been hitting trash cans, dumping over trash cans. He's been tearing down bird feeders, and he even tried to come into a house through a window that was open but screened one night. And so when we get a situation like that, we really start becoming concerned about risks to public safety. So we've set this culvert trap. It's a live trap. The bear isn't harmed in the capture, in an attempt to catch this bear and remove it from this area. Usually the homeowner will call us when the door on the trap closes. They'll hear it. It's very loud. If we've got a bear in the trap, we'll come out, hook up to the trap. We'll bring this bear back to an area where we can process it. A lot of times we'll just bring it back to our regional office here. So he'll get ear tagged. We'll collect a DNA sample either from hair or a small piece of skin, and then we will transport the bear to a chosen release location.
The people of the White Mountains obviously have a great symbolic affection for their bears, but having a home or vacation property in the cool pines carries with it the responsibility of making sure they are not contributing to the problem of bear and human encounters.
Specifically with garbage cans, your trash, keep it in a secure garage or shed in the trash container until that morning of collection. That's probably the number one thing that could be done to help keep these bears from finding those garbage cans, becoming habituated to the trash.
You know, by burning off your barbecue grills after you're done, rather than waiting to burn it off until you start the next time to grill. Humming bear feeders. Okay. And I purposely say that. I would say that hummingbird feeders are probably the number 2 attractant in the communities, after the first one being household garbage.
Hey, we have nothing against feeding birds. It's a great thing. They're wonderful to see around. It's one of the benefits of being in this area. But feed them during the day. When you go in at night, when those birds aren't active anymore, take your bird feeders in.
Bird seed feeders, same thing. Put enough out for the birds in the morning, but enough so that it's gone by nighttime, or bring the feeder in. But basically it is a message of that people have to change their behavior to protect these bears from being destroyed, and to protect themselves from having issues with the bears in some kind of an unplanned confrontation.
Navajo County has an ordinance that can lead to civil penalties against property owners if their actions, such as leaving trash out, can pose a problem with wild animal contact. If the property owner fails to take remedial action after first being contacted, they can be subject to a civil violation. This year, the city of Show Low adopted a similar ordinance.
The purpose, of course, is not to write a bunch of tickets. The purpose is, of course, to protect the bears, to help fix this problem, to fix the people aspect of this problem, and make people responsible for their trash and their attractants around their houses.
Last summer, the Region 1 Office of Game and Fish took over 300 calls regarding nuisance bears in the area.
This was a lot more than all of the other regions in the state put together, and it resulted in us having 22 different events where we handled bears, and it was 19 separate bears, of which we had to put down 10 of those bears.
In fact, if a bear is captured, it has an 85% chance of dying within 6 months, either as a result of the human-wildlife policy or because it returned to an urban environment and was exposed to a hunter, angry homeowner, or vehicle accident.
If it's an adult male bear, by policy, that bear has to be then destroyed. We do not relocate adult male bears. The reason being is the liability issues associated with handling an adult male, which adult male black bears just biologically become more aggressive as they get older. So the risk to a bear that has given up his wild behavior and chosen to come into a urban area, the risk is higher on a bear like that than, say, a female bear or a young bear.
This adult male had been consistently hanging around neighborhoods in Pinetop, so because of his age and size, combined with a severely injured front paw, he was not a candidate for relocation and had to be euthanized.
If the bear is a female or is a young male, then our option is, unless it's exhibiting some sort of unusually aggressive behavior towards people, unprovoked, approaching people or something, then that bear would then be relocated to one of our approved release sites and given another chance, basically.
We don't have what a lot of people believe is a 3 strikes law. Everybody says, oh, is this bear's 3rd strike? And we only have 2 strikes. We have the initial time we have to capture and move that bear, and then if it returns, that bear doesn't get a second chance.
Most of the time, the bears that come into an urban area are young bears that were just kicked loose from mom. They are just trying to figure things out and learn and try to establish an area that they can basically call home. And what ends up happening is these bears get hungry. They're trying to figure out where food is. They can smell the garbage. They can smell the barbecue grills, the trash cans, that kind of stuff. And so they end up kind of tempting fate, if you will, and coming into the neighborhood, sort of testing it to see if they can scrounge some of that food. What ends up happening is each time they test it a little further, they get a little bit more food. If that continues, then that's how they learn the behavior themselves. It's not really taught to them by their mother bear, but it's learned by themselves through tolerance. And what happens is most of the time when a bear comes down a neighborhood street, the typical reaction, unfortunately, is by humans, is they all go up into their house and open the curtains and watch it from inside the window. Well, what that teaches these young bears is that when they come around, all the humans will get out of their way, we'll leave them alone, and basically it's a free ride as long as they come down the street and all the people leave.
If I walk out of my garage tomorrow morning and there's a bear in my driveway, what do? We try to encourage people to make sure that bear knows that he's not welcome in that area. Yell, scream. If you have something close at hand to throw at them, throw things at them. You can bang pots and pans, anything like that. But the biggest thing, of course, is with any predator, any large animal, is not to run away from it. Don't act like the animal's prey, but make yourself big, make noise, make it uncomfortable for that animal to be there.
And other bears have been chasing them for their entire life. They know what to do when something else as big as them is aggressive towards them or throwing rocks at them. They know what to do, which is move on to somewhere else.
It comes down to being a good neighbor, not only for the bears, but for the people that we live with here in these communities. Nobody likes waking up in the morning and finding trash cans dumped up and down the street. Nobody likes having their bird feeders smashed. And like I said, a good neighbor to those bears as well. Protecting these bears from these sources of attractants is the ethical and correct thing to do, to keep these bears wild, keep them in wildlife situations, and keep us from having to handle them, whether it comes to a relocation or actually having to destroy a bear.
0505650 3828654, and it's waypoint 33. We are walking the fence line between the game units 3B and 3C that the Apache Indian Reservation backs private property or national forest land, and we're collecting bear hair along the fence line in order to do DNA analysis to get a more accurate population estimate of black bears in the area.
This is the second season of a 2-year study that will hopefully yield some new information about these elusive creatures, and the key to this biological door can be found in the bear's hair.
We determine whether or not it's bear hair or elk hair, and then we have to determine whether or not it's a good sample for us to be taking. We need 5 guard hairs, and there's 2 different types of hairs on bears. They have long, coarse, thick guard hairs, which will have roots on them, and then there's fluffy underfur that makes them, it's the insulating hair. And we need the guard hairs because those come off with little tiny roots of skin, and that's what the lab actually uses to do the DNA. And once we determine that there's enough guard hairs in the sample, we will put on rubber gloves, remove the sample and put it into our little envelope, and then we mark down the location along the fence line, what color hair it was, what species it was, and then we send it off to the lab for analysis. Because black bears are really elusive creatures and we actually don't have a very accurate population estimate, this is one very easy, inexpensive, and non-invasive way to count the black bear population, because it's not like a herd of elk where you could just fly a plane over, scare the herd of elk out into a meadow, take a picture, count it, and then you've got a general estimate of how many elk are in that area. A plane won't scare a bear, and they're probably sleeping or hiding or doing bear things before we even get a chance to find them. So this is a very easy way to do a population estimate.
Along with collecting black bear DNA for the study, biology interns Jamie Alkenbrack and Hannah Baldwin also work to educate the public regarding the problem of nuisance bears.
Education is the key, because if people get rid of the attractants, we can stop having nuisance bears coming into neighborhoods. So we're working with the White Mountain Nature Center, and we're giving talks there. Next week, Hannah is giving talks for a camp of kids about being bear aware and bear management and urban bear problems and all sorts of fun stuff like that.
The root of this is that it's not a bear problem. These, yes, we call these nuisance bears, but it's really not the bear's fault that they're nuisances. It becomes a people problem. All of this comes down to managing people, getting people to change their behavior, trying to modify these behaviors of really not taking the responsibility of just securing trash, securing these dumpsters to where bears can't get to them, taking down their bird feeders at night, and just being a responsible neighbor and responsible homeowner in this area can really help us reduce the number of bear issues and the number of people problems.
We've all seen the signs, and we all know that you need to lock up your garbage because a fed bear is a dead bear.